Good afternoon, all. Nobel laureate and our great pride, Rabindranath Tagore said, "The highest education is that which does not merely give us information, but makes our life in harmony with all existence." Friends, it is quite evident nowadays that we have to maintain a harmonious relationship with all existence, even with an unseen virus. We have to live with the virus. So the 9 branches of ICA in Kerala decided to provide a seamless dissemination of knowledge among its members in Kerala through virtual conferencing software Zoom. Today, we are on the second day of the season 2 of Navaratna conference. We, the Alappuzha branch, is honored by virtue of hosting a unique faculty from South India, CAV Pattabhiraman. We will start the session with ICA motto.
येष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति येष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्मिमाणः निर्मिमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यति कश्चन एतद्द्वैता 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 एतद्द्वैता.
Now I invite CA Rajneesh R. Murthy, Chairman, Alappuzha branch of ICA, to welcome the gathering.
Thank you, Martin. Most respected Central Council Member CA Babu Abraham Galdivalli, respected Regional Council Member and past Chairman of HRC of ICA, CA Jomon Kejo, Chairman of other 8 host branches, CA Ramesh Thiruvananthapuram, CA Praveen Kollam, CA Prashant Kottayam, CA Ranjit Ernakulam, CA Aryan Thrissur, CA Vinod Palakkad, CA Arun Calicut, CA Reggie Kannu. And Speaker of the Day, CA Pattabhiraman, Managing Committee members of all branches and my dear professional colleagues. Good afternoon and welcome to the second day of the event Navaratna. The grand second season of the Knowledge First by all the 9 branches in Kerala. On this occasion, I acknowledge the efforts of Conference Chairman CA Babu Abraham Galdivalli, Central Council Member, and extend a very warm welcome to the program. I am also honored to welcome Conference Convener CA Jomon Kejo, past Chairman of SIRC, to the program.
Thank you, Rajneesh.
Today's topic is brand building by CAs and upscaling of CA practice. It's high time that chartered accountants must act as a trusted advisors rather than just assisting their customers in tax preparation and return filing. Being trusted advisors to our customers means a paradigm shift in the functioning of accounting firms. Therefore, having talent pool on board with just the traditional accounting skills won't help in living up to the changing business outlook. Hence, apart from routine accounting and administrative skills, future chartered accountants need to have a diverse set of skills to remain relevant in the ever-changing market. After all, customers expect chartered accountants to be technically competent, possess soft skills, provide business advisory, management consultancy, and build deeper client relationships. Today, we have the blessed opportunity to listen more on this topic from the visionary of our profession, CA Pattabhiraman. Sir, we are delighted to have you with us today, and with much pleasure, I welcome you to this program. Once again, I welcome all the fellow members joined us online today and wish everyone a purposeful and pleasant evening ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajnish. Now I invite CA Indu SN for the faculty introduction. Indu is a treasurer of Alappuzha branch of SIRC of ICAI.
Thank you, Martin. Good evening. Now it's my honor and pleasure to introduce the speaker of today's session, CA Pattabiram, a chartered accountant by profession, an author by passion, and an inspiring teacher, having taught over 75,000 students. He is the partner of a public accounting firm that he co-founded, Mrs. Yoganand and Ram, which is a multi-partner, multi-location firm. He works on valuation and strategy. In these several years, he has been into journalism, writing for newspapers and magazines of repute on contemporary issues. He has authored n number of books, including co-authoring First Lessons in Strategic Financial Management for CA final students, which was an ICAI recommended textbook. His maiden novel, King Times, is set in the backdrop of audit profession. His latest book is Beyond 2020-25, Happening Careers in Accounting and Finance. He is a regular speaker at various seminars and workshops, both in India and internationally. Sir, it's such an honor and blessing for us to have you with us today. And once again, we welcome you to deliver this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Indu. Sir, you can take the session now. Kindly share your screen and start your session, please.
It's a wonderful feeling being here at Navratna, a galaxy of 9 branches of Kerala, all of them coming together to host a conference which is attended by chartered accountants, cutting across branches, cutting across regions, sitting in the comfort of their homes, comfort of their office, or comfort of whichever place they choose to be in. This is remarkable. All the more so because I today intend to talk to you about a subject which is gathering extraordinary momentum as we step into the 3rd decade of the 21st century. We are going to today talk about how firms, professional firms, can build brands. And what I'm going to talk to you today is not just about accounting firms, although accounting firms is what would be of interest to you. What I talk to you today is true of law firms. What I talk to you today is also true of medical firms if they choose to form firms. It's important, it's pertinent that we build brands. A brand does not mean an organization. A brand does not mean a product. A brand also perhaps does not mean a service. What it means, what are the 8 habits of outstanding brand builders? I'll talk to you about that in a moment. But before I do that, I must, I believe, speak to you about the times that we live in. It's not as though none of us are aware of the times that we live in. However, to set the context right, to put things in perspective, to tell us that the time has come for the accounting profession to put its head under the sun, it's important to talk about the changing ramshackles of time. I think the last 2 years, 2020 and 2021, have been absolutely horrible. The novel coronavirus, COVID-19, as we call it, has destroyed national economies, has exposed the frailty of our public healthcare system, and has shown how lopsided our education system as well is. But, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, amidst that catastrophic scenario, there is a ray of hope. There is a light in the tunnel, because notwithstanding of the gravity of the situation, notwithstanding the fact that this is a 1-in-100-year phenomenon. The last pandemic that took place was the Spanish flu in 1917. Notwithstanding the fact that the number of people who have died in corona across the world is more than the number of people who were injured in the First World War. And I guess that gives you a sense of the magnitude of the situation. We have, as a world, done well. Let me tell you something. I think mankind has adapted to the new situation with remarkable alacrity. We would not have been today holding this conference if we had not very quickly married into technology. Colleges would not be functioning today. Schools would not be functioning today if we had not very quickly married into technology. Why? Accounting firms would not be functioning today if we did not very quickly marry into technology. That actually reminds me of something, and I think I must share that before I get into the crux of my talk. 14 months ago, I wrote what an organization which published it called the Thought Leadership Document. And it was a document which talked about the future of higher education, 9 megatrends. And that document was released by the Vice President of India, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu, in a live program on Rajya Sabha television. And in that document, we said that there are a few things that will happen in the world, including in education, in the next 5 to 7 years. Today, when I read that book, I know how hopelessly wrong we were. What we said would happen in the next 5 to 7 years happened in the next 5 to 7 months. Humanity adapted to technology like duck adapts to water. Work from home, which was a concept that people said will take time to happen, which was a concept that people were talking about will happen in the 2030s, is now a reality. There is a view, there is a talk, including among some of India's top tech companies, that when the world returns to normalcy, and we believe that the world will return to normalcy, 40% of the people will work from home. It was something that was not thought about earlier. All that I'm trying to tell you is that despite the frailty of the situation, despite the difficulty that we have faced across the last 1.5 years, mankind has really made a significant step forward. When the history of the modern world is written sometime in 2050, the world will be bifurcated into pre-2020 or pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. And when people have the time to think and reflect, people would say, hey, it was good that the pandemic actually happened. I know lots of you have lost many things in the course of the pandemic. But nevertheless, with hindsight, a time will come when we'll say, hey, it was good because it fast forwarded us into the future. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I now intend to talk to you about what are, in my opinion, the 8 attributes of outstanding brand builders. But before I do that, or as I get ready to do that, as I put up my PPT deck, I'm going to ask you one question. And if you guys can put out the answer, actually that one question is going to have 3 sub-questions. If you can put out the answer on the chat box there, okay, that would be wonderful. That would make it that much more participative. Okay, I'm now going to put out 3 logos. And I'm also going to tell you the name of the business organization to which the logo belongs. And the moment you see the logo, the moment you hear the name of the business organization, I want you to put out on the chat box below, what is it that first comes to your mind? I repeat, the moment you see the logo, the moment you hear the name of the organization, I want you to put on the chat box, please put on the chat box, the first thing that comes to your mind. Let me give you an example. Suppose I put those 5 rings, the logo of the Olympics. To some of you, the first thing that might come to your mind is competition. To somebody else, the first thing that might come to your mind is sportsmanship. To different people, different things might come to their mind first. So let me go ahead and put out my PPT and I'll put out the logos. Just before doing that, let me tell you, for the benefit of those of you who may not be aware, I know now Zoom is an extremely and widely used video conferencing facility, but just in case somebody did not know, if you want to reduce the size of the PPT, then you'll have to put your cursor on a double line that will appear between the speaker and the PPT. And if you keep pushing that line to your left, one of them will become smaller and the other will become larger. Okay, let me begin. That's the Tata Group. I want you to put entries on the chat box. Vinod, I'm not able to see the chat box. So if you can maybe tell me whether numbers are coming up, what are the things that are coming up, that would be lovely.
The first came as trust.
Good.
From Dev Kumar, integrity.
Integrity, excellent.
Then trust, electric vehicle.
Okay.
Tanishq,
Okay.
car.
Okay.
Again trust. Then Indica.
Okay.
Trust again.
That's wonderful. I think we'll take a stop there.
Yeah.
So many people, the first thing that comes to their mind when they look at the Tatas is trust, is integrity. Nobody even talked about steel, Tata Steel. Nobody even talked about TCS, Tata Consulting, which represents, unless I'm mistaken, almost 80% of the revenue of the Tata Group. Nobody even talked about Land Rover. Okay, nobody did any of those many things. I grew up in the house of Tatas. I grew up in an industrial township in the eastern part of India that belonged to the Tatas because my dad worked in the Tatas. And to a person like me, I feel extremely proud when people say that the first thing that comes to their mind when they hear the Tata word is trust, is integrity. I subscribe to that view. But just imagine, how would Ratan Tata feel? He would have goosebumps. How would Jamshedji Tata feel if he were here? He would be absolutely excited. Now let me put out the next logo. That, just in case someone could not spot it, is the Reliance Group.
From Anil, it came as Geo.
Geo, good.
Geo, growth, hard work, growth,
Okay.
all in all.
Okay.
Growth, mobile trends.
Okay. I think we'll take a stop.
Growth.
Yeah, wonderful. I think we'll take a stop there. Now look at the dissimilarity there. Okay. You think of Tatas, you think of trust. You think of Reliance, you think of Geo. Basically, you think of thinking big. The Ambanis have always known to be thinking big. Their Reliance Petroleum project was possibly one of the biggest world-class projects. When everybody and their uncle were talking about pricing calls at a certain rate, the Ambanis said, hey, look, I'm going to price it at nothing. And almost overnight and almost without warning, Geo captured the mobile market. When you think of the Ambanis, you think of thinking big. The fact that you thought about growth, the fact that you thought about Geo is an indication that you're talking about thinking big. I'm going to put up my third and last logo.
iPhone, computers, innovation, expensive, Steve Jobs, cost image,
Okay.
technology, security, performance.
All right. I had something in mind. Okay. I should not feel surprised that it did not come up, but I can't expect that people have to agree with me. I think something that came closest to what I had in mind was performance. Something that came closest to my mind was Steve Jobs. To my mind, when I think of Apple, but also imagine, I don't think anybody thought about the fruit apple. Okay. Today, if you say Apple, nobody talks about Adam's apple. Nobody talks about apple a day keeps the doctor away. People talk about Steve Jobs' Apple. The great thing about Apple is that it wows the customer. Apple was the first product, iPhone was the first product where you could actually push like this. And for people like me, that was exciting. Apple almost always wows the customer. When you see it, you are excited about it. And once you're an Apple user, I think you're an Apple user virtually for life. And Steve Jobs was not the archetypal businessman. Steve Jobs was a designer. Steve Jobs spent hours and hours and hours of time in making the product that much more perfect. And that was also one of the reasons why he was kicked out of Apple long years ago before he re-entered via Next. Anyway, let me quickly summarize what I wanted to tell you. Think of Tata's, you think of trust. Think of Reliance, you think of think big. Think of Apple, you talk about performance, you talk about quality. In my opinion, these are about brands. A brand is not a product. A brand is not even a service. A brand, like somebody says, is a sense of trust. Is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of an organization. And that is the remarkable power of the brand. Tomorrow, if the Tatas decide to get into, I do not know whether they are already into. Tomorrow, if the Tatas decide to get into, let's say, publishing books, though they're already there, Tata McGraw-Hill. Tomorrow, if the Tatas decide to get into anything, there would be many of us who would blindly trust it and go with them. That is brand. And let me now put out what I call a textbook definition, that brand means trust. Brand means trust. And for our purpose, in just so as companies need to build great brands, or just as companies build great banks, so should accounting firms. And more importantly, so should accounting professionals build brands. You guys are with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can we have people put up a show of hand or a thumbs up on the chat box so that I know that you guys are with me in the sense that you're clear about what I have been saying thus far? Because I've just now completed what I thought was one segment where I wanted to tell you that brand means trust. Okay. I'm now
going, Jomonia. Great going. And we have 420 of us with you. As great going, we are all with you. So thumbs up. Don't wait for the thumbs up. All our thumbs up.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm now going to another point that I'm going to make. I'm going to make a proposition. And because I also come from your profession, and since all people here are from our profession, I don't want you to misunderstand what I'm going to say. Some of you may not like what I'm saying. But I'll still go ahead and make that point. When I go to Toni and Guy, okay, when I go to Toni and Guy, as many people know, is the salon. I ask, when I fixed to go there, I asked, is Sandeep Sengupta available today? Sandeep Sengupta is a hairdresser at Toni and Guy. When Toni and guys say, no, he's not there, he's on leave today, I say, okay, I'll come tomorrow. And that's not just me. Many people. Many people. So when I go to a hairdresser, I ask, despite the fact that Toni and Guy or Essentials, if you take another name, is a big brand, I go for the individual. The point that I'm trying to make is that in organizations, especially in professional service organization, especially in accounting firms, there are stars, there are star partners, and there are others. Okay. If people can pick and choose a particular hairdresser in a top-notch brand, they would like to pick and choose individuals when they pick a top accounting brand as well. The moral of the story, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that I'm trying to put out here is that brand in service organization also vests with individuals. You cannot do what Henry Ford did. You cannot do what most manufacturing companies do, where the product is the hero. The individual is not the hero. That does not work in service organization. In service organization, the individual is the hero. The brand is definitely important, but a lot of the brand comes on account of the individual. And it is therefore imperative that anybody and everybody who works in your accounting firm must realize and recognize this. The 8 habits of outstanding brand builders, of which I'm going to talk to you a little while from now, is not going to happen overnight. It's not something that you're going to master overnight. It might take 10 years to build a brand. It might take 10 years to build an organization, but it is worthwhile. I'm not going to here talk about things like how should you network, how should you increase your turnover by 10x, how should you grow big by mergers and by acquisitions. They're all a given. They're all a given. They're all something that, what should I say, is almost everybody kind of follows. They're all more in the nature of hard matters. I'm going to talk to you about soft matters. Okay. Now let's move on to the big picture. This is where I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you, and then I'll tell you what I want to tell you, and then I'll wind up by telling you what I told you. This is the big picture. I have pushed the 8 habits into 3 buckets. The first bucket is called consideration. And the meaning of the word consideration is being in the game. And I'll explain with some simple examples as we move on. The second bucket that I'm talking about is selection, which means running in the game. There is a technical difference between consideration and selection. There is a technical difference between being in the game and running the game. I hope to outline that. I'm going to talk about 2 habits under consideration. I'm going to speak to you about 3 habits under selection. And the third bucket is continuation. And I'm going to talk to you about 3 habits there. Continuation is about staying there. How do you get considered? How do you get selected? How do you continue there? That is the burden of the brand song. Left-hand far corner, you see a logo. You see IPL, the Indian Premier League. Okay. I'll try to tell you why have I put out that. The logo of IPL I have put out there in order to tell you what do I mean when I say that you are going to be in the game. What do I mean when I say that we have a bucket called consideration? Now take Chennai Super Kings. Okay, take Chennai Super Kings. There are 25 players who constitute the CSK team. What is it that a cricketer, an aspiring cricketer, if any one of you has a son or a nephew or a niece who plays cricket and wants to be part of CSK, what should he do in order to be there in the 25? That's what is consideration. The second one that I said is selection. Now, after he gets into the 25, what is it that he must do in order to get into the team's level? That's what I call selection. And after he has got into the team, What does he have to do like a Suresh Raina or a Mahendra Singh Dhoni to stay there in the team for the long term? That is what I call continuation. I'll quickly repeat my example. I said, what do you have to do to be in the running, to be part of the 25? What is it that you have to do in order to get selected into the team of 11? What is it that you have to do in order to stay in the 11 as long as is possible? And this is what we are going to talk now. And the first thing for that is authenticity. Trait number 1 is authenticity. Habit number 1 is authenticity. And authenticity here means reliability. Before I get into a little bit of detail about authenticity, let me move out of an IPL example and give you a more live, current example. An organization with which I am associated in a what should I say? I'll just say in a certain form, wanted me to identify a concurrent auditor for them. The moment they told me that, please help us get a concurrent auditor for us, the first thing that I did was that I said, look, I'll give you a list of 5 people, and from there you pick. Now, what did I have in my mind in picking up those 5 people? What should those 5 organizations be known as in order to get considered? That is what we are talking about in consideration. And the first habit there is authenticity. Another word for authenticity is reliability. I'm going to put up 3 pictures. First is track record. I'll explain all 3 of them. Second one is a picture. I want you to identify this lady. On the chat box, you can put out her name. I'm not able to see the chat. So Indu, will you be able to tell us what names are popping up?
Amala Paul.
Amala Paul. Any other name is coming or just Amala Paul?
Oh, Amala Paul, all Amala Paul.
Only
Okay,
Amala Paul, sir.
wonderful. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. You guys must know Amala Paul. And this is the third one. Okay, 3 pictures are there. I'll begin with the third one. And I'll begin with the third one first and talk to you about that. What you see third is a restaurant. Now, a restaurant can have great ambience, the way that restaurant looks. A restaurant can have period furniture, the way that restaurant has. The restaurant can have outstanding hostesses, the way that restaurant has. The restaurant can have a great menu card, the way that restaurant has. The restaurant can be in the peak of the city, in the heart of Kochi, the way that restaurant is. All that is important to build a brand, but that will not matter if the quality of your food is bad. In other words, what I'm trying to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you want to build a brand, your basics must be right. Not just the basics must be right, the basics must be right on an ongoing basis. Let me explain. Let us for a moment assume that I go to Saravana Bhavan. Okay, I go there one day. I love the food. I go there 2 weeks later. The food tastes exactly the same that it tasted a fortnight ago. I am thrilled. I go there every month for 6 months. It's exactly like that. I'm thrilled. So 7th month, somebody comes. A friend of mine comes from Bengal. So I tell him, Saravana Bhavan is a great place. You can come there, have your dahi vada. If you like your idli, sambar, you can come there and have. My friend comes there, and that day the food is horrible. That's bad. That doesn't work. The brand is lost. A brand has to get its basics right, and a brand has to get its basic consistently right. That actually brings me to the first picture that is there, FedEx. Anybody who can tell me what is the tagline of FedEx? Federal Express. You can put it out in the chat box. Prashant, anything that's coming up on the box?
Not yet, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, World on Time from Jason Jacob Matthew.
What does he put out?
World on Time, the World on Time.
Okay, I do not know if they have changed their tagline, but originally it was on time every time. Okay.
And
It's
one
not
more
enough
bird
to-
now meets nest.
Okay. On time every time. So it's not just enough to be punctual for FedEx. It has to be punctual every time. So track record is very important. So when somebody is looking to consider you in that list of probables, you must be an organization which gets your basics right. It's not enough to have a great looking office. It's not enough that everybody carries a MacBook Air. It is not that everybody is dressed extremely well. All that is important. But far more important is that you'll have to do your audit, you'll have to do your tax, you'll have to do your consulting well, and you have to do it consistently well to build a track record. And then we have in the middle, Amla Paul. Now, let's look at it this way. Amla Paul tells the world that she is beautiful. Amla Paul tells the world that she is an outstanding actress. How would you react? What would you say? You can keep pushing it on the chat box. What would be your reaction when Amla Paul says that she's an outstandingly beautiful looking lady, and more importantly, she says she's a great actress? Or you would say no, you would say she is boasting. Good. Anybody else? Oh, wonderful. Ajit says, prove it to us. So Ajit is obviously not a great fan of Amla Paul. All right. Now, let's change the equation a little bit and say that there are people who go to producers, who go to actors, and then say that, look, Amla Paul is beautiful. Amla Paul is a great actress. How does it work? That works remarkably well. As Angelos puts out, someone else must say that. That's absolutely right. I remember this because far back, long years ago, when many of you may not have been born, in the year 1991-92, when India opened up its economy, the Indian government said, oh, we are a wonderful country. We are a beautiful nation. No, we have the best facilities, etc., etc., etc. And then the Japanese said, that is not for you to say. That is for us to see and say. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you become authentic, you become reliable if you get your basics right, if you have a track record, and if you get word of mouth advertising. I want to tell you, branding is not about advertising. Branding is not about marketing. Although in B schools, you learn about branding in marketing subject. Branding is something else. Branding is about how you conduct yourself, how you do what you do, and how does the world perceive you. And that cannot be bought. The good news for all of us here, young professionals, small size firm, mid-size firm, is that you don't have to blow a fortune. You don't have to blow money to build a brand. You have to get some fundamentals right. Okay. I'm done with trait number 1, habit number 1. I'm going to go to habit number 2. It's called availability. First important thing is that people should know that you are there. And that does not necessarily come through advertising. That comes through word of mouth. It is not just enough to know that you are available, which is about visibility. It is also equally important that you should be available when they want you. You should be available when they want you. You have to be responsive. I know, because I interact with a lot of public accounting firms. I know for a fact that it takes a lot of time for people to respond to emails, a lot of time for people to respond to SMS from clients, a lot of time for people to respond to WhatsApp messages, lots of time for people to respond to phone calls. I'm not saying clients are gods that you must respond to them instantly, drop everything. But my sense is that you need to respond within the next 24 hours. You need to do that because it's very difficult to get a client. It's very easy to lose one. It might take 5 years of courting to get a client, but it just takes 5 minutes of one-upmanship to lose it. If you give a feeling to a client that he is not being respected, in a service industry, he will leave you. And the worst part of the story in the service industry is that good clients, good customers, they don't tell you how bad you are. They just leave you. They don't tell the world outside how bad you treated them. They just don't refer you to anybody else when things pop up. You can become visible by writing in trade journals like the Journal of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. You can become visible by writing in journals like the BCAJ. You can become visible by writing in, say, The Economist or the Harvard Business Review or the accountancy magazine in the world. You can become visible by putting out relevant blogs. You can become visible by speaking at conferences. You can become visible through the social media, so long as you handle them well and so long as you handle them right. I just want to tell you 2 stories before I close out part 1. I first want to tell you that great firms don't advertise. And this has nothing to do with whether the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India allows you to advertise or doesn't allow you to advertise. You've all heard about Dr. Trehan, one of India's top-notch cardiologists. Just imagine, does Dr. Trehan go up and put a first-page advertisement saying, I have performed X number of surgeries. My success rate is so much percentage. He doesn't do that. My sense is that, and I'm not being old-fashioned, I'm as newfangled as many people are. But there are a few things that are just not on. And I don't think, like somebody very rightly said with reference to Amla Paul, it is not for her to say how good she is, it's for somebody else to say that. The second story that I want to tell you, and this is about availability. You all heard about Shankar Nethralaya. Shankar Nethralaya is an outstanding eye hospital, ophthalmologists. There was a point in time when it was very, very difficult to get an appointment at Shankar Nethralaya. And I'm telling you a story that is 7 years old. Next to impossible to get appointments, some appointments used to take 30 days. A friend of mine, I'm telling you the story because I was personally involved. A friend of mine from Hyderabad called up Shankar Nethralaya and said he wants an appointment. At the front desk, they said, no, it's not possible for an appointment for the next 30 days. And then he told them, I think I have a serious problem with my eye. I think my visibility is dropping. And this guy was 32 years old. I think my visibility is dropping. I would like to come to Shankar Nethralaya. Can I come? You know what the front desk said? She did not go back to Dr. Badrinath. She did not go back to Dr. Ravi Shankar. She did not go back to any of the many guys to ask them whether she could take them in. She simply told him that if it is that bad, catch the next flight, be here tomorrow. What I'm trying to tell you is that you need to have empathy. You need to understand when a client requirement is important. You need to know when to drop things down to address things. And you need to build a mechanism, a system whereby people down below can take decisions. You need to empower them. I'm done with my second habit. I'm done with availability. And I'm now going to move on to the third. anyone wants to put out a question on the chat box, you can quickly put out. I'll take them if possible now, or of course I can take them in the end as well. Now running the race. You are there now, part of the 25 of the CSK team in IPL. How do I get down to the 11? And the third habit of great brands is that they are credible. They're absolutely credible. Absolutely credible. Credibility is very, 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 very important. You know, if you take a mirror and there's a crack on it, nothing that you do can set the crack right. The crack will be there. Like a scar is there once a surgery is performed. The scar is not going to go away. The crack is not going to go away. So if your credibility gets compromised at a particular point in time, you lose out. How do you build credibility? I've been in the accounting profession for quite some time now, and I can say without fear of contradiction that there are 3 important attributes if you want to build credibility. 1, you must take ownership for what you do. Ownership is accountability. Accountability is not about responsibility. Accountability is responsibility to the self. I know I'm stepping into gray area, but I think I've been in for enough time in the profession. I've interacted with quite a few of you before, so I can take the liberty of telling that what you recommend, what you tell, what you suggest must not cross the boundaries of law. I once heard a lawyer tell me that we will bend the law without breaking it. I was not very impressed. I was not very impressed. Now, you create a brand when, for example, if somebody says, if this guy has recommended a certain procedure or a certain tax plan device, then there is no chance that it will be illegal. There is no chance that I'll go to prison. Then I think you have built enormous brand. And that comes out of accountability to oneself. Later in habit number 8, I'll talk to you about what I call the value proposition. And I'm not going to treat on ethics, fair play, and all that. I'm going to tell you about something very fundamental. Second important thing is that you must be very, very responsible when you deal with client. Never, ever get into a conflict of interest position. I'll go back to IPL. I have great amount of respect for some of India's outstanding cricketers. Cricketers from the 80s, cricketers from the 90s, cricketers from the 00s, cricketers from the 10s. But many of them have gone into conflict of interest positions. Krishnamacharya Srikanth, for example, was the ambassador of the CSK team. He was also the chairman of Indian selectors. That was a conflict of interest position. I'm not saying that he made money on the side. I would be the last person to say. But that raises a shadow of doubt in the minds of the people, whether this man will therefore pick up people from CSK. Krishnamacharya Srikanth possibly was an icon of our generation. Let's take an icon from today's generation. Mahendra Singh Dhoni. Mahendra Singh Dhoni ran an organization which was responsible for the branding of players. And a couple of players whose branding was taken up by the organization that he owned were people in CSK, were people who played for India. That was a conflict of interest position. To the everlasting credit of Dhoni, it must be said that when people pointed it out, he stepped out of the company. But what I'm trying to say is that if you want to be a brand, the higher you move up on the hierarchy, the more visible that you become in the profession, there are more people who will be happy to see your downfall. There are more people who will scrutinize you that much more closely. I'll give you an example, bad example, but I'll give you an example. The last country that should have talked about Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky was the United States of America. I hope you understand what I'm talking about. The last country that should, last set of people who should have been talking endlessly about Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, the episode that happened in the 90s, were the Americans. Yet when it came to their leader, they said, we expect our leader to be that much more credible. What I'm trying to outline to you, gentlemen and friends, is that as you grow, as you build a brand, you must never ever pick up a position that constitutes a conflict of interest. I don't want to talk to you about what are those situations. That's for you to pick up. The third thing is that you must respect client privacy. Doctors are known to respect client privacy. I meet a doctor, a great friend of my wife, and therefore a great friend of mine as well. We meet him very often. He knows that I'm a chartered accountant. There are well-known chartered accountants in Chennai who have undergone surgeries with him. And I know that because I get to know from the CS. He never gossips. He never tells who came to him for a surgery. He never talks about any position of any patient of his. You must maintain client privacy. When you're young, when you're growing your organization, there is this great temptation to drop names. There is this great temptation to say, hey, this guy, Mohan Lal is a client of mine. Hey, Mohan Lal, he got into a problem. This is the problem he has. Hey, Mammootty has written a will. This is something that you shall not do. That's absolutely important. Okay. So what I've done till now is that I'm talking now about how you become one of the 11 players in the CSK team. And I've just now said what is the first habit towards becoming that. I talked about credibility. The second thing that I'm going to speak to you on, and I'll take your questions. I see a few people put up hands. I'll take your questions in the end. Okay. A second important thing that is important here is capability. I like this advertisement. This is an advertisement that belongs to the 90s. It's an advertisement that belongs to the 90s, but it's a remarkable advertisement. It's an advertisement by Jensen and Nicholson. When you think of color, think of us. That's the ad that came by. Okay. You can say that if you can give your client an assurance that in their bad times you will be there. Not just in their good times. Not just that you do a report for them. And when that report is being tarnished in the court, in the court of public opinion, you must stand up. You must help them out. More importantly, this is something everybody and their uncle will tell you, that you will have to upgrade your skills. You will have to upgrade your capability. Like Windows comes out with a Windows 7.0, 8.0, 9.0, 10.0, 11.0. Microsoft, if I'm right, holds 95% of the market share in the OS market. Yet it reinvents itself. It comes out with fresh products. Accountants must also, like that, reinvent themselves. If you are the competition, that means you are the monopolist. There is nobody else in the race today. Nevertheless, you have to reinvent so that nobody can catch up with you. Capability is important. And I'll tell you why. There was a time in this world when the availability of knowledge used to double every 50 years, 50. Availability of world knowledge used to double every 50 years. Then came a time when the availability of world knowledge used to double every 15 years. In the 2010s, the availability of world knowledge doubled every 10 years. Sorry, every 3 years. So I used to tell both my students and my colleagues that post-qualification for 3 years, if you don't update yourself, you will become a museum piece. Today, it's widely speculated, it's widely believed, especially once the Internet of Things comes in, that the availability of knowledge in the world will double every 12 hours. I repeat, it will double every 12 hours. Today, the challenge is about how to keep pace with changes. Today, you cannot compete on information with Google. You cannot compete on information with AI, but you can compete with them in terms of intuition. You can compete with them in terms of how you can be creative. And those are the kind of capabilities that are required if you want to build a brand. Just give me a minute. Okay, we talked about capability. I'm now going to move on to the third one. It's called adaptability. The fifth habit, the third in running the race, the third in getting selected into the 11 members of the CSK team. It's important to never be a prisoner of the past. I'll explain to you what I mean by that. You cannot say, this is how it was done earlier. This is how I learned it and we did it 10 years ago in our internship. Or this is how balance sheets were done 20 years ago. No, boss, the world has changed. Once upon a time, we used to admire Nani Palkhiwala. We used to admire Nani Palkhiwala because he had every information inside his head. Every piece of statistic was there inside his head. Today, you don't have to be that. Every piece of information is available on your mobile. Today, you have to be as outstanding a speaker, as convincing a speaker as Nani Palkhiwala. That's what is important. You need to realize how the world is changing and you need to adapt to the changes of the world. I remember a senior chartered accountant, I can name him, Mr. Santalakrishnan, once tell. He said, and I'll quote, he said, when a client or a company asks you to do something, please do not say that you cannot do it. No client, no company pays you for telling them, I can't do it. He says that I am not suggesting that therefore you go and do it by hook or by crook. We are not suggesting that. But you go sit out, find out whether it can be done. If in your view it is not lawful, if it is not legal, find out alternative views. Find out alternative ways of doing things. Do that. And if after all that you think it is not doable, then tell the client it's not doable and tell them why it is not doable. I put it out very crudely here when I said make meaningful compromises. When I say compromises, I'm not saying compromise on your basic values. But in an organization, different people will have different points of view. And if you want to succeed, in an organization, you need to respect the multiple views. If in a boardroom, in your CA office boardroom, there are 10 people and all of them are talking the same thing, giving the same view, you don't need 10 people. It's enough to have one guy. So if you are someone who's looking for a yes man, it won't work. You need to realize, you need to understand, you need to respect the fact that there are alternative views. There are views that might be anathemic to you because you come from a very different generation compared to another generation that is today growing up. A generation that has grown up entirely on the internet. A generation that possibly does not sit and take notes in a meeting, but maybe not takes a snap of what is written on the board. Now, you can't feel offended by that. I know I'm giving you a very, what should I say, stray example, but that I thought was an example that will try help us understand what it is. I'm now going on to the next one. I spoke to you about the two things, about authenticity and about availability in order to be in the race. In order to get considered. Then I spoke to you about three things. I spoke to you about credibility. I spoke to you about capability. I spoke to you about adaptability in order to be in the hunt, in order to get chosen. And these are things that individual partners shall practice in a firm. These are things that everybody in the firm should breathe in the firm. And that's how you build an organization that will stand the test of time. I now move to the last bucket. The bucket where I talk about how as a player you can add value, how you can be a Suresh Raina or a Mahendra Singh Dhoni in CSK, how you can be a Virat Kohli in the Indian cricket team. And I'm going to quickly talk to you about three things. I know I've been speaking for quite some time. Just give me a few minutes. The first of the three things that I want to speak to you about is profitability. This is how you add value. You have to think out of the box. Somebody said earlier that it's important that we don't act just as accountants, that we act as business advisors. True. Even when you're accountant, even when you're providing advice, you have to think of out of the box thoughts. You have to think about ideas that never came up, ideas that are unpredictable in the minds of the client, but they are ideas that must be usable. They must not be professorial ideas. They must not be sit back in the chair, armchair ideas. They must be durable. I'll give you an example. I don't like to give personal examples, but I'll make an exception. 8 years ago, an organization got in touch with me, an organization that manufactured tiles, floor tiles and wall tiles, and they were making losses. They were making losses, and they were unclear why they were making losses. The more they produced, the more loss they created. And it was being run by a IIT graduate. So they invited me, asked me to find out what was wrong. I did a very quick profitability analysis, and they thought that they had some 16 products, okay, different types of floor tiles, different types of wall tiles. I told them that no, you're not having 16. If you do permutations and combinations, they actually had 8,028 different varieties. If you go by sizes, if you go by usage, etc. And out of the 8,028, there were some 7,200 items which were having negative contribution. That means the more you produce, the more you lose. So I told the client that, look, these are products in respect of which you increase price if you can. They said, no, the market will not take increase in price. Then I said, don't produce that product. And we cut down from 8,028 to 256. In some cases, we raised prices. In some cases, we did cost reduction exercise. I don't want to name the company today. They're doing outstandingly well. Even today, when the owner meets me or sees me in any public forum, he comes up to me and says, that was a brilliant idea. There was no brilliance to it. It was basic thing that you read in cost accounting, in your chartered accountancy. What went right there was that it was unpredictable. He did not know. What went right there was the fact that the idea was durable. It stood the test of time. And most importantly, the idea, a part of being durable, was also usable. So the suggestions that you give your clients should not be run-of-the-mill. Unpredictable, usable, and durable is what is important. I now step into trait number 7. I'm slowly moving to the close of my talk, and then we can take all the questions that you have. And these 7 and 8 are very important. And that's the reason I'll spend maybe totally about 10 more minutes. Bear with me. I thought it would take less time, but it hasn't. Pricing, in my view, shall not be cost plus. Pricing, in my view, shall also not be competition based. Pricing, in my view, shall also not be, hey, this is what the market can bear. I will take so much profit, balance this cost. The concept of traditional costing that Sony Corporation started, not even that. I would say that in professional firms, value perception is important. What value you bring to the table is important, and how there is a perception of that value that is important. Okay. Ultimately, everybody does almost the same job. I go back to my Tony and Guy example. The corner store barber, the Nai ka dukaan as you used to call it, or the guy in one of the mid-range air-conditioned salons, the guy in Tony and Guy, they're all doing the same job. They're all doing the same job. It is just that there is a value perception that they have built in the environment around them, and they are doing their basic service right. That's important. You must price it at a price that is less than the value that people perceive it to be. That is what makes it affordable. Okay? It doesn't become affordable. Affordability here does not mean, can the guy pay? Everybody wants to pay less, whether you like it or not. I'll give you an example. I'll give you a slightly better example. You go to a doctor. I don't want any of you to go to a cardiologist, but let's say that somebody wants to have a bypass done. Okay? So you go to a cardiologist and or a cardiac surgeon, a bypass is to be done. The surgeon says, I'll give you 20% discount. The surgeon says, my price is 40,000 rupees. I'll give you a 20% discount, 32,000 rupees you can pay on EMI. Will you trust him, or will you trust a person who quotes higher, sticks to that, says, look, boss, there is no discount here. This is important. This is your heart. And heart is very, very important. There are no EMIs. There is so much of work that is involved. There are so many consumables to be bought. Who would you trust? I don't know about you, but I would not go to the guy who charges me 40,000 with a discount. Unless he has already built a great brand, you know that he is outstanding. If he's a Dr. Cherian, maybe yes, I would go to him. If Dr. Cherian decides in the evening of his life that he wants to do social service, yes, otherwise no. So in almost much the same way, you must not compromise on the value perception of your product, your service. And if you want to build a brand, you must increase the perceived value of your service. How you increase the perceived value of your service is what you have to think out. It's what you guys have to sit in your office and decide. I'll go to the last one, the very last, to stay on course. Value proposition. I know I'm treading on dangerous grounds. I'm not someone who likes to tell people that, look, this is how you should do, this is how you should not do. But since I happen to be talking today to all of you on brands, and since you happen to invite me, so if you don't like what I'm going to say, I think 30% of the blame rests with Jomon George, because he was the guy who called me up and said, come speak. First important thing is that we shall not in our profession do something that gives us cheap thrills. We shall not in our profession do something that can bend the law without breaking it. We shall not do what chartered accountants often say, forgive me for my saying. In Chennai, they say, Paathu Pandidlam. We will take care of it. We will do it. Or in the Hindi land, they say, Dekh lenge. I don't think that's on. You might get a cheap thrill by winning a case, but that's not what will stand you in good stead. Like I told you somewhere in between, I told you that you build a great brand if a client tells that if Martin Joseph has cleared this advice, then this advice is sound. This advice might lose in the Supreme Court of India. That's a different ballgame altogether. But this advice is not going to put me behind bars. That's very important. The second thing that is absolutely important is about realizing that anything goes does not work. The first time that I was exposed to that first bullet, okay, which I'm going to pull out, was when I was in Dubai. So, from Dubai, we went to one of those neighboring places. I am not able to recall. Beyond Sharjah, this place was there. There's a great restaurant. So one of my friends said, "I'll take you there." So we went there. 1:30 in the night. Okay. Traffic signal changed red. This guy's car was the only car. He stopped it. I come from Chennai, where red means go, green means go quicker. Okay. So I told him, "Boss, this is the night. Why are you stopping?" He said, "No, that's how it is. I know that there, half the good conduct is because of the law. That's a different thing. I do agree. But what is important is that there is a world of difference between conduct and character. In schools, if you notice, you are not given a character certificate. You're often given a conduct certificate. Conduct certificate, roughly speaking, in the context of traffic will be like this. I go there, I don't jump the signal because there is a cop standing there. Okay. I go there, I don't jump the signal because in my car, Vinod is also traveling. So I don't want Vinod to think that I am a habitual jumper of traffic signals. In schools, in colleges, you get a conduct certificate because you do what you do when you're watched. Character is about doing what you do when you're not watched. Doing what you do when nobody is watching you. When you're driving all on your own. That's what is important. I'm not being old-fashioned. Virtue is never old-fashioned. Doing the right thing is never old-fashioned. Because posterity will remember people. Posterity today remembers the Tatars. Because they have almost always, there are stray exceptions maybe, they have almost always stood by values. I'll very quickly summarize, ladies and gentlemen. I'll summarize what I said. I think I've spoken quite long. I said, if you want to be in the race, you've got to be authentic, as in being reliable. You also have to be available to your client as long as is possible. Next up is to be running the race. 3 things that you need to do. You have to be credible, you have to be capable, and most important, you must adapt to the new world. The last set was adding value, continuing to be in the game, being an important player in the game. You need to provide profitability. You need to provide your service that is affordable from a value proposition standpoint. That is absolutely important. I would like to close out by telling you, brands are not built overnight. The brand for Coke was not built overnight. In life, there are no overnight successes. In life, all overnight success means 20 years of hard work. People say, hey, look how successful Virat Kohli is. He must be a lucky guy. He may be lucky, but look at the kind of life that he leads, the kind of fitness that he practices, the kind of food that he has given up, that he loved. There's lots and lots of hard work that is involved. Brands don't get built overnight. You can't build brands short term. You have to build brand long term, and you have to do that consistently. If you build a great brand, if you leave behind a great brand, posterity will remember you forever. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. Now, I request the members who are participating in this meeting, if you have any questions, you can post it in your chat box. And if somebody wants to ask a lengthy question, maybe we can unmute them.
Martin, there are a few questions there in the chat box.
Yes, sir. I can read it for you, sir.
Yeah, please.
So Sabu Thomas is asking how to build brands in short term.
No, brands don't get built in short term. One has to put in time, put in effort. You have to practice all these 8, in my view, for an extended period of time. Then only you really end up building a brand, because brand means trust. Brand means credibility. Brand means trust. So you can't do that overnight. I think there are some on the Q&A. I'll go
Yes, sir.
pick.
Yeah.
Go pick.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll pick them up myself. There is a question from Zakir Hussain. He says the principle of affordability is not the matter in big brands. Example, audit/consulting fees of Big Four. Your comments, please. I'll tell you a story because I don't have a direct answer. To everybody, there is affordability. Okay, it's not just that everybody is necessarily goes to the Big Four. I know there might be people from the Big Four here, but I myself did my articles in Deloitte, so I can take the liberty of saying many people come to the Big Four, many clients come to the Big Four largely because the investors who invest in those countries require the Big Four to audit, because in their country, they understand the Big Four well. It is something like this. I'll take a little bit of time explaining. It's something like this. If you were to recruit, will you recruit a chartered accountant for the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India? Or will you recruit a chartered accountant for the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales? Many of us will recruit the ICAI guy because we are familiar with that brand. We understand that better. And therefore, many clients require audit to be done by the Big Four because their investors want the Big Four to audit them. I'll give you a second example. Again, it's a personal example. It happened many years ago, but I'll still tell you that. A person, I don't want to name him because all of you know him. A person and I went to a man who was the managing director of a venture capital company. This managing director of the venture capital company was a SEBI nominee then. He actually worked with SEBI. He was the regional director of SEBI in Chennai. And then he was elevated to be the managing director of a venture capital company. So we went there seeking professional work because we were introduced to him by the president of the Bangalore. We were introduced to him by the president of the Bangalore Stock Exchange. He took us there. He had shared our CV with him. He looked at our CV, and our thing was that because he would be referring a few people for audit, our request was that he could on merit suggest our name. He told me, and I can't forget that even today, it's quite some years. He told me, I'm very impressed by the credentials of your firm, but I will not suggest to my board your firm for our company, because should something go wrong in my company, the CBI will come and sit on my neck. They'll ask me, what money did you take from this firm, which people don't know. And therefore, I will go to the Big Four, so that if something happens, I will tell them, I took the best guys in the world, okay? I took he said, quote unquote, best guys in the world. So I'm not at fault. So what I'm trying to tell you is, in response to that, if you build a brand of great credibility, like what the Big Four have built, okay? If you build a brand where you are known, everybody is getting used to you, then it becomes easy for you to make the cut there, okay? That's what I wanted to tell you. I think the question of affordability, like I said, no, it may not be affordable and still people might go to them. Okay. There is another question from
Soniel, sir.
Martin, if you don't mind, can you
Yeah, sure,
select
sir.
the
Sure.
question that you want me to answer?
Yeah, sure, sir. Sir, CS Soniel is asking, in the case of CA services, many occasions client moving to a CA who quoted lower fee. What is the perception of clients in this situation? Is it contrary to the basic traits of branding? Views, please.
That's a very difficult question to answer. But if your product, if your service is a commodity, and I'm not being contradictory here, a commodity means it is something that everybody can do. Okay. A franchise means it's something that very few people can do. Okay. Filing of tax returns is a commodity. Anybody can do. If your service is a commodity, people will go to the guy who gives it at the lowest cost. Straight, as simple as that. Take the case of airline. You want to fly from Kochi to Chennai. What do? It's a 1 hour flight or 1.5 hours flight. You go and find which airline gives you the lowest price. You select that. Full stop. Over. So if your service that you offer is a commodity, you cannot escape low pricing. Your service, therefore, has to be a franchise. Franchise means that that's a value proposition that others can't give. Then you can command higher price. For example, today, you see these days there are lots of IPOs are happening. I have a certain view about IPOs. I don't know whether all of you will agree or disagree. I have a certain view on IPOs. When an IPO is oversubscribed 150 times, when an IPO is oversubscribed 150 times, according to me, I should take a gun, or the promoter should take a gun, put it at the head of the investment banker and shoot him. Because when an issue is oversubscribed 150 times, in my view, it means that the public has decided that this value is less. You can disagree with me. Why I am trying to tell you that is that if in the game of valuation, for example, which is where I do quite a bit of work, and therefore I can take the liberty of saying, if your valuation reports are widely accepted without there being questions by the tax department or by A or B or C or D, then you can charge a higher price. People will come to you because your quality is better. Or I will tell you about writing, because I do a lot of writing. A lot of writing comes to me, and I'm not boasting. I know somebody talked about Amala Paul is boasting. I'm not boasting. I'm just giving an example so that you can get what I'm saying. People come to me largely because I can turn out faster. Okay, they go for a writing. Suppose somebody wants an autobiography or a biography to be written. They go to X. X tells them it will take 18 months to write. I tell them it takes me 3 months to write. Not because I'm going to compromise, but because I can write fast. I can write with at least 85% as well as the guy who writes in 18 months. Now, therefore, if I can use that word, my brand is speed without compromising on quality. And that is not a commodity, that's a franchise. If everybody starts writing in 3 months' time, then it becomes a commodity. So you will have to do something that makes people come to you and pay the higher price. So you cannot really say, that guy is unethical, he has charged me less. How do we decide that your price is the right price? Would the big four not say, oh, you're charging less? So I don't think it works like that.
Sir,
Yeah,
next question is from Abhinav Sanjay.
yeah.
Your views on building individual brands within large organizations and how to showcase the visibility.
All that I said applies to individuals. Okay. Even in the best of public accounting firms, what happens is that when a partner leaves the firm, clients leave along with the partner. And I'm talking about the big four. Okay. So when a partner leaves the firm, clients leave the partner. Clients leave the firm. So individuals, by following all these 8 precepts, can create a brand for themselves. I know the Tatas, for example, when they go to some of those big four firms, they pick the partner who shall audit them. They say, we are comfortable with this man. If you can allot him, he will do work for you. Why talk about big four? Even in many accounting firms, including in mine, there are clients who say, if X is going to do the work, we will come to you, otherwise we will not come. What does that mean? That means that X has created a brand in whatever form. So individuals can create a brand. And it is also important, you talked about showcasing, that's good. It is also important to let the organization know that you are doing something. Somebody said you should not blow your own trumpet. To which George Bernard Shaw said, if you don't blow your own trumpet, who will blow your trumpet? So sometimes it is important to blow your trumpet. Sometimes it is important to tell the world what you're doing.
Sir, Ajit Kaimal is asking, is it necessary that one needs to set up offices in tier 1 cities or tier 2 cities to bring in more value and brand to the firm?
That's a very difficult question to answer. I would say both yes and no. Whether we like it or don't like it, there are many clients who say, we want your address. Okay. If I sit in Chennai, unless I am a big lord, if I have an office in Chennai, Bangalore clients may not give me work unless I have an office in Bangalore for whatever reason. So I have to have an office in Bangalore, point number one. Point number two is that there has generally been an importance about address. Okay. I don't buy that argument, but there has generally been an importance about address. That is why some of the best finance companies are headquartered in Mumbai. For example, if you take Larsen and Toubro, bulk of L&T's income comes from ECC, which is a 100% Chennai-based company. Bulk of the revenues for Larsen and Toubro comes from Chennai. It is in the fitness of things that the registered office should be Chennai, but the registered office is Bombay. Okay. So what I'm trying to tell you is that it is true to some extent that you will be able to pick high value clients if you have an office in the metros. Okay. But once you're picked, once the client has tasted you, he's not going to be bothered where you're operating from. And today, the last 18 months have shown that nothing has really mattered. Location has not really mattered. I was telling Jomon earlier today that from March 2020, 12th of March 2020 to today, last 17 months, I have not moved out of my apartment complex. I have moved out only on 6 days. 3 days was to do a shooting, and 1 day was to launch a book of mine at the CA Institute, and 2 other days because I had to go out somewhere. So for a variety of reasons, the last 18 months, I am operating right here with this little painting behind me, or that painting in front of me, or that goes behind and this goes to the front, whatever. Nothing has changed for me. Life has not changed. I have been doing, in fact, more productively than what I was doing earlier. The point that I'm trying to make is that once the client tastes you, once he likes what you deliver, he's not really today bothered where you operate from. But yes, to get the initial breaks, it is important that you have an address outside.
So there is one question. While interacting with the client, whom should I push first as a brand? The name of the firm in which I am working, or me, who is a partner and interacting with the client?
Let me put it this way. The client should not get a feeling that you are competing with your firm. Okay. The client should not get a, I'll give you, I understand a little bit about the world of medicine. It should not be like you are a doctor working in a government hospital, and when a patient comes, the patient should not get an idea that you are pushing him to come to his private practice. Okay. That message should never go out. You should never give an impression that you are more important than the firm. However, while you must talk about what the firm does, you must also tell them what you are good at. Okay, what you are good at, what the firm is good at. And if you are beginning to feel that he is interested in an area where you are good at, you must tell him what you're good at. Okay, so it should not end up like saying you're competing with your firm, you also are doing something on the side. People don't like that today. People like loyalty, although people hop jobs, hop firms, but when you are in a place, they expect you to be of that place. So I think both counts. Talking about the firm is good because you can talk about multiple people. You can talk about multiple services. Talking about you alone, you can talk about individual things. For example, if somebody comes and tells me we want to do valuation, clients also have very little attention span. Now, I can't start talking from, I do statutory audit, I am registered with the PCOAB, I do tax audit, I have this, that. No, they'll not be interested. So they would like to know who does valuation in your firm, what kind of valuation clients you have. So it's also a function of what is the work that you're pitching for.
So there is one more question from you, Ravi Verma. What is the importance of artificial intelligence in branding?
In banking, is it?
In branding.
All right. I think as far as firms of our size are concerned, AI is not going to happen in a great hurry. Okay. AI is not automation. Many people wrongly think AI is automation. Maybe tomorrow you can ask Vittal Raj the same thing. Automation is one thing. Today, what accounting firms are talking about is automation. I am not too sure whether they are talking about AI in a big way. Okay. For AI to happen or for robots to work along with us, that's going to take some stretch of time. And for firms of our size, it might be very expensive to do that. If, let us say, somebody decides to put up all the facilities, for want of a better example, suppose somebody decides to Uberize our profession. There's a guy with lots of money who comes and says, I will put out AI facilities for me. You come and use it and pay on a user basis. Yes, then it is possible that it could happen. So just like Uber has told its partner drivers, I don't want to think they are drivers, but just as an example, just like Uber connects the driver with a passenger, if there is a Uber that comes up and says that, look, I'm providing all the facilities for AI, pick that and use it. It need not be a Uber. It could also be the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Then that can happen. Okay. That said, ultimately the client is not interested. I'll talk from the standpoint of a client. I'm not interested whether AI does or whether you do. I'm interested in a few things. I'm interested in speed. I'm interested in accuracy. I'm interested in quality. I'm interested in price. How you execute it is your lookout. Okay. So if you are able to today say, yes, I use AI, and if it's really, really, really true, then yes, it definitely adds value because it tells people that you are contemporary. The fact that he might not want you to use AI is another story. Let me restate what I said. I said, using AI is good. AI is going to be expensive, but if you can use AI, it will help you. Client will be impressed, but client is not going to give you work merely because you have AI. Client is going to give you work if you can assure speed, if you can assure accuracy, if you can assure quality, and if you can assure affordability.
So there is one more question that is in chat box. Despite being big fours, do commit mistakes or negligence compared to small firm where quality is always kept at high standard. What's your view in this?
Anybody makes mistakes. Anybody makes mistakes. Ultimately, people like you and I go work in the big four. The advantage of a big four is that they have built a huge insurance base. When I say insurance base, I'm not saying that they have taken insurance. No. They have built a huge safety net with the kind of repository of knowledge bank that they have, with the kind that they have access to world-class audit abilities. Anybody who goes and works there should be able to do pretty well. Okay. So that is their strength. Their strength or their brand lies in access to knowledge, access to technology. Let's be very clear about that. It is not that they have the access to the best auditors. It's not that they have the access to the best talent. I'm not saying the best talent is not working there, but that is not their brand. Their brand is their access to knowledge, not even knowledge, access to knowledge and access to technology. They are also likely to make mistakes. Nothing wrong. I don't think they can't make mistakes. Sometimes I tell people that if some of the big scandals that have taken place in our country, and I don't want to name them because I have friends across the Big Four, I don't want to name any organization. I sometimes tell them also that it is good that these audits were done by you guys. If these audits were done by me or by Martin's company or by Vinod's firm, then there would have been a huge halla-bulla saying this profession has gone to the dogs, nobody knows anything, this is useless, that is this, that is that, that is that, that is that. So in a way, it is all right that they have made the mistake. But having said that, I am completely in line with what Prime Minister Modi said on the 1st of July 2017. Many people did not like what he said. I also, as a member of the CA profession, did not like what he said. But I liked one point that he said. I'm not even getting into the rightness or wrongness of what he said. I'm not even getting into whether that was a fora in which he should have said. I'm not getting into all that. But I liked one thing that he said. He said that from India, there must emerge big 8 firms. Okay. In other words, he is saying that let us build the same kind of knowledge. Let us build the same kind of access to technology. Because who is the Big Four in India? Who is the KPMG? Who is the EY? They're all people. They're all Indians. They're all guys from Chennai, from Delhi, from Bangalore, from Kannur, from Kochi, from Kolkata, from Mumbai. They're all Indians. Shred them off their Big Four brand, Big Four name. They're all people like you and I, as recognizable or as unrecognizable as us. Okay. So the fact that they make errors is acceptable. Only God can possibly make no errors, and even God makes errors.
Sir, Sakir Hussain is asking how successful it is to create a local CA branch with ICAI limitations within a stipulated time as compared to international accounting firms where there are not much restrictions from their accounting bodies.
All right. I'm not very conversant with what are the details of restrictions that the ICAI has laid out. Meaning, I can't really go deep into that. But I believe in 2 things. I believe what Mr. Yashasvi once told me. Mr. Yashasvi, for those of you who don't know, is the founder of the Institute of Chartered Financial Analysts of India called ICFI. Mr. Yashasvi is a chartered accountant who got the All India First Rank CA, All India First Rank Intermediate Final, ICW First Rank Intermediate Final, gold medalist in his BCom, and I think in one exam he finished rank number 2. Okay, he built the ICFI, massive, and today the ICFI Business School, IBS, is a very important brand. He once told me, because I worked closely with him, he once told me, I'm not in competition with the IIMs. When he ran IBS, he said, I'm not in competition with the IIMs. The best and brightest boys and girls will go to the IIM. I don't want to compete in that space because I don't think I can compete. I only want to stop good students from going into B schools that are bad. Okay? Maybe his choice of words was not good, saying that somebody is bad, but he used a phrase. He said, I want to create the B school middle class, not the rich in terms of course structure and talent of the IIMs, not the poor in terms of the course structure or challenges of the lower rung B schools. I want to create the B school middle class. I think we must also be clear about the fact that some of us cannot compete with the big four. There is no necessity that everybody should compete with the big four or everybody should become a world-class outfit. You said it very right. If you can become the choice firm in your city, that itself is wonderful. If you become the first choice in Kannur, that is wonderful. Okay, that's wonderful. So the restrictions apply to all of us. Okay, and I don't think the restrictions decide the brand. What decides the brand is the 8 things that I told you. And the 8 things are not things that I just picked out of the hat. The 8 things are not things that I picked up because I wanted to talk to you today. The 8 things are what one wants to preach, practice, and follow. Do them, you will automatically become big. If you say, this is not possible, there is that restriction, there is this restriction, nothing will happen. We have to work within what is in our control. We cannot work with things that are outside of our control. So if you follow these and follow a few other practices, I'm not saying that I am the repository of all wisdom, all knowledge, then you will be the top guy in your area. And you set standards for yourself. You can say that 5 years from today, I want to be the top firm in Trichy. Then you then say maybe 10, 15 years from today, I want to be the top firm in Kerala. Okay. Then you might say, I want to be the top firm in south of India. There is no need that you must go national or international. I give one example and I will close the answer to that. I always tell people that there is no requirement that you should become the CFO of a company. There is no law on earth which says that you should aspire to be the CEO of a company. I tell them the story of Sachin Tendulkar. By far, one of, forgive my saying that, one of the greatest cricketers of modern era. It will take a long time, not just to break his record, but it will take a long time to change what he did. To a generation like mine, he was the first superstar. No, our hope and aspirations in cricket began and ended with Sachin Tendulkar. Okay? Sachin Tendulkar was a disaster as a captain. And he had the presence of mind. He had the gift of God. He had the humility to understand that captaincy was not his cup of tea. He had the humility to understand that being a CEO of an Indian cricket team was not his cup of tea. So he never aspired to be that. What I'm trying to tell you is that it is good to be number one in what you are good at. It's not necessary that you have to be the CEO of a company. It's not necessary that you have to be the number one firm in the whole of India. Okay. You might think that I'm being contradictory to what I'm saying. No, I'm not being contradictory. I'm being very realistic. That is how brands are built.
Thank you, sir. I think almost all questions are over and you answered all of them. Now, probably I think Joman sir is with us. Maybe we will get a concluding remarks from him. Joman sir, are you there?
Yes, very much.
Yeah.
I was there throughout, though I was traveling. I almost reached Kollam, Compass, Karunagapalli. Yes.
Sir, please.
Thank you very much, Martin. Another wonderful discourse from Pattabhiram sir in his unique and inimitable style. Am I audible and clear?
Yes, sir.
Fine. So branding and upscaling and upskilling by CA firms, which is quite a very, very important aspect at this point of time when we have a lot of competition, not only from within, from outside sister organizations. So start off with how to be in the race consistently for a very, very long time, staying there for a long time. And the ingredients, the first point was, showing the brands trust is paramount, trust and credibility for any practicing public accounting firm. We call it CA firms, but sir uses the term public accounting firm, probably the CPA word from the US. And then coming all that CA firms, the commercial considerations, whatever we talk about are not devoid of commercial considerations. That's very, very important. And sir was also talking about his book, Beyond 2020, striking a personal chord here. We recently had an induction program in our office for the 18 of the new joinees, new batch of articles which we absorbed this time, the biggest batch in the history of our firm. We had a one-day induction program, and to every one of us, we gave a copy of Beyond 2020, the emerging careers in accounts and finance. And I read through that. It's wonderful. It gives a new direction, a new perspective for aspiring CA students as well as young chartered accountants. And the institute is also doing its bit to do the branding or increasing the deliverables of firms by now slowly enabling, it's not fully through multidisciplinary partnerships, where we could have variety of services rendered to different kind of clients. Now, one thing which is very striking is that we are smaller firms where we always talk about or compare with Big Four. The Sachin example was very clear. You don't have to be at the top, but then you being a team player, not a CEO, and not being the captain is very important, so that your performance sometimes is better when you move out of certain responsibilities which a CEO is burdened with. I would put it that way. And I think there's a lot that we can do, taking cue from what Sarah has given. I had the distinct privilege of working with SAR for many years. Recall with gratitude, I was part of an IFRS training team. We went to Muscat in the Sultanate of Oman way back in 2010. SD Balasar was also there. From that time, we have been very, very closely interacting. And his approach to the profession, his approach to presentations, which is evident from the slides. And it doesn't happen overnight to do a presentation like this. This is out of the immense, huge research he has done. The surveys done by his team in Chennai and across, that I think he's in almost, his latest book is almost about to see the light of the day. I think this will have a lot of, I think a lot of things have been drawn from the book. In an offline chat, he was just sharing this. So small things that we can do is, one thing is, I would say, the specialization. When I see in a GST seminar, all the 5 partners of a firm coming for a GST seminar, I wonder why. Why should all learn GST? Why can't there be different verticals? That's something which the Big Four do, a legal firm where can we not have this? If there are 10 partners, if it is taxation and indirect tax, there's 1 partner, direct tax, 1 partner. Why should everyone do everything? I will just share a simple example that 12 years back, I moved out of tax practice, going for tax representations, because I knew that as probably it's a commodity, anybody can do it. And I was at the firm, I can be more contributing to the firm and more lucrative and value-adding services to the clients as well, lucrative for the firm, value-adding for the client. So I was thinking of doing, getting into a little bit of valuation business advisory. Luckily for me, I'll take only 2 more minutes as we are rounding up. I just had this opportunity. When I was in Dubai, a friend of mine called up and asked me whether you do business valuations. Frankly, I had not done before. I told him that we can do it, but I'll need a week's time, because I have some work in Abu Dhabi, and then I told him. But I was lying. I was lying. And then we agreed upon, and then I took 3-4 days of study leave, sitting in the hotel room. I worked on valuations, and the valuation was well received in the sense that the deal went through for a price which is a value which is closer to our valuation as compared to another valuation which is very unrealistic. Sir is smiling, so sir, I'm not a registered valuer as yet. But then that gave me a feeling that, okay, I can do valuations and my valuations are kind of acceptable in a market where you talked about IPOs, probably talking about the Zomato IPO and shooting the investment banker. It is IRCTC, if you remember, was a typical example of underselling a government company and going public. But today, I think there's also a market frenzy, as said by people, experts like C. Rangarajan, where companies which have never made profits. I am of the firm belief that there is no business in food delivery. None of the food delivery across the globe have made profits. And the prospectors are loud enough to say that in the near future, we will not make profits. And it's a market frenzy. People are catching up, and 44 times an issue getting oversubscribed, 9,500 crore issue. These are all things which are beyond our comprehension. I would only quote Warren Buffett, who said, pre-tax 8 to 10%, pre-tax, post-tax, pre-tax 8 to 10% should be the ROI one should be looking at. And he was talking about the Life IPO, which came in the US a few years back. So very, very interesting interactions. I was just sharing this. So on the branding, I'll just say something which I've been getting a lot of calls from members saying that clients are complaining about the IT portal issues, which all of us are facing. 2 weeks back, we had Manoj Fatnis, our own past president, said we are all having that trouble. Then I said, we are consoled that a past president is also the same boat where, we are not finding light at the end of the tunnel. Very, very interesting. But then have we communicated our client? Do we have a mailing group or a WhatsApp group? I have started using WhatsApp, so I think I'm allowed to use that term. A group with the client saying that it's not our problem, it is a portal problem. And when there's a paper cutting, Nirmala Sitharaman doing a press meet and saying that we are discussing with Infosys and the result will be soon through. So educating the client on these kind of things, planning a channel is very, very important. Instead of taking all the beating from the client saying that it is your problem. And dates are getting extended, but certain things. Why don't we have a brochure, a one-page brochure? I have seen in Sir's own office where there is a brochure. It is not to be, distributed in a supermarket. I mean, I would say in a mall or something like that. But when you go to meet a client specifically, when a client comes to your office, a client is coming to Pattavaram Ramsam because he knows that he is very good at valuation. So there, while during the discussion, why don't we be a little more vocal and loud about what we are capable of, how many partners we are, this is our team, this is what work we have done. So there's absolutely no restriction. We are assuming that the institute is, putting a lot of clipping our wings. Actually, it is not so. We are really enabled now. We are even allowed to advertise. And how many of us have a website? Office branding is very important. I recall what Manoharan sir said in his presidential message in 2006. One of his articles, the presidential message said, reinvest 10% of our earnings in infrastructure when a client comes. It has to be impressive. So a lot of things which we can do, knowledge management, sending updates to the client on a GST amendment and things like that. For example, the Kerala flood cess, when it is removed, we should have, I think Prashant sent a message to the members as well as I'm sure that he would have sent to the clients as well in advance, saying that changes may have to be made for reducing that 1% of Kerala KFC and all that. So a lot of things which you can do about this. And I'm sure that as we gear up for this kind of session, a standout, we had a large turnout and 300 of us are still with us. It's really nice that we could get Pratap sir on board, and he agreed. Ranjit was with me when I called him and agreed, just checking the date and the timing. Just in 5 minutes, he agreed. That is his commitment, and we are really enriched. And before I conclude, let me also just take 1 minute, talk about the baseline of our firm. The baseline of our firm is bigger, better, bolder. Bigger is growing in size, growing in deliverables, growing in knowledge management, adding partners, adding people, adding new lines of new verticals. That's something which means what we mean by bigger. Better is continuously improving. Every day we offer scope for improvement in the way we render ourselves, in the way we attire ourselves, the way we present ourselves before the client. So that is better. Bolder is taking some new initiatives. There's a question on whether it's okay to have branches or we need to go to metro to get the branding. I don't really think so. Sir answered that question. To be the best in Kannur, to be the best in Cochin, and local brands still have a lot of value. Let us not forget the grocery stores where we still go when there is Reliance next door. So that kind of loyalty can be developed over a period of time. So a lot of things to be discussed. I think we had a lot of very useful interaction, and the questions proved that we are all glued to that wonderful presentation and wanted to get the best out of the expertise and your standpoints, which are totally different from the conventional thinking of a charter account. So official vote of thanks will follow. My personal thank you for readily consenting to be with us. And these are my points on this. Let's continue to discuss on common platforms wherever possible and to start specializing. And today, I think it's very important to know that you don't have to be a jack of all trades, but you have to be at least master of one. So with that, let me conclude thanking the entire, all the branches, once again, complimenting them for putting all the elements together. There's absolutely no technical glitch, nothing. It is a smooth takeoff and very smooth flying, and it's time to land back. So back to you. Thank you so much, sir, and thank everyone.
Thank you, Joman sir. Thank you for your valuable words and time.
Now, I propose CM Martin Joseph to propose official vote of thanks. Martin.
Yeah. Respected Chairman of Alappuzha Branch, CA Rajnish R. Murthy, respected Central Council Member Babu Abraham Kallivalil, respected SIRC Member CA Joman George, Faculty of the Day CA V. Pattabhiraman, Chairman from 8 other branches in Kerala, managing committee members of all the branches in Kerala, and my dear fellow chartered accountant. I would like to start my duty with a quote from world famous book, The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. In that book, in that one, the chapter on teaching, he says, if a teacher is indeed wise, he does not bid you enter the house of his wisdom, but rather leads you to the threshold of your own mind. Friends, it was indeed a spectacular session of 2 hours from a very respected faculty of our time. His name itself is a brand among us. Yesterday, when I discussed with my chairman, CA Rajneesh, about Sir, who attended his class in Prime Academy, Chennai, he said, Sir, will always discuss simple problems in the classrooms, and once the problems are solved, we will understand the concept. I still believe that he is continuing the same methodology in this class as well. He kept his PPT intact and spent only hardly 1 hour with that PPT, but we all are well aware about how the branding is important for all our profession and how we have to make ourselves as a brand. Sir, we are very much thankful to you for sharing your time, for sharing your knowledge with us. On behalf of all the 9 branches from Kerala, I express our sincere gratitude to you for being with us in this evening. Now, I would like to thank our Central Council member, C.A. Babu Abraham Kalivel. He is always a mentor for us. He is the mastermind behind this session. He is not with us today, but I am sure he's the backbone of this session. I thank Babu Abraham Kalivel for his support for conducting this seminar. It is also my duty to propose vote of thanks to CA Jomonke George, past SARC chairman. Though he is very busy, he is traveling, but he was with us for the last 2 hours. I express our sincere gratitude to you, sir. I also thank all chartered accountants. At the time, it was around 400 chartered accountants who joined for us. I thank all of them for being with us. Tomorrow we will have another session with another faculty. Still then, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you very much, and thank you very
Martin,
much.
I
From
think you need to
Alapura.
display the memento if it's ready, and then we'll
Yeah,
send it.
memento is ready. Memento is ready. Yes.
Before that one, I forget to thank our technical team. I thank all of them for being with us and for their support. Thank you. Now over to you.
Trichur team may display
Yeah.
the memento, which is specially curated and which will reach you, sir. We'll send it to you physically.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Patavi sir, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Great evening, great session. Thank you, sir. I'm signing off. I think I'm running out of signal also.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Patavi sir. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Arun.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Good sure, Rajini sir. Adivule, sure. Thanks, Martin.
Thank you.